Welcome to a video I have put together to share a 20-year-old recording of a Yahoo voice chat room. I'm sharing this purely as a time capsule being opened after 20 years, and to provide an example of how the experience was back in the wild west of the Yahoo chat rooms. You would probably assume that this is an overly compressed and barely audible recording, but up front I'm going to tell you that this was recorded directly into a digital audio hard disk recording device at CD quality. I was connected to dial-up at the time, but I think that you will agree that this would rate as well as Teams or Zoom conference audio. But I will explain the technical stuff a little bit later on in this introduction. Now, I estimate that this recording was done between the 26th of March and the 10th of April 2003. This is mainly because the discussion was about the 2003 invasion of Iraq, and I think that they were saying that this was about 1 week into the operation. I will be leaving a link in the description to a Wikipedia page about the 2003 Iraq invasion, in case you needed further background. Now, some people might think that this is a very boring recording, but I felt that this was a really good example of what was experienced back in the day. Now, just want to get some things straight first about this audio recording. I'm not here to comment on the conversation. I don't know any of the participants, and who knows where they are now. I did not speak during this conversation. I really didn't have anything to add. I was, and just like you will be, a fly on the wall, witnessing what we're about to witness. I've decided to leave this recording up unedited from end to end, simply to show you exactly what happened in these chat rooms at the time. There are many opinions expressed here which I don't agree with. I do not condone hate speech or expressions of racial prejudice. But in the end, this is just a room full of unidentified random strangers discussing the topic of the day. Remember, this is 20 years ago, so even if by any chance you can identify anyone talking here, you really can't judge them for it now. I don't think that this would have been the only Yahoo chat room discussing the war at the time, but being a military chat room, they would have been at least trying to discuss it seriously. I didn't usually hang out in military chat rooms, but I stepped into this one because the war had just begun and was curious to see what was being discussed at the time. The discussion wasn't entirely about the war, but there were some moments that I personally found quite amusing. You can imagine that any chat room where there's going to be a female presence, that some of the men kind of act a little bit strange. Not too strange, because they're all trying to keep it above board, but there are those moments. I'll be sharing 2 links in the description to different videos about the whole Yahoo chat thing, if you were not around to witness it firsthand like we were. As far as the recording goes, the only alteration I might make to it is to lower the volume whenever there are loud bursts of audio, or when someone's speaking into their microphone a little bit too loud. You will also hear the sound of a door opening and closing. That's actually just built into the Yahoo chat program, and it's there indicating when somebody on my buddy list was coming online or going offline. As far as the 2 videos that I've shared that explain the whole Yahoo chat experience, I do have a few things to add regarding the voice chat system. In these chat rooms, it was like 20 people holding a microphone with the opportunity to press the talk button whenever they wanted, and from what I gathered, it was first in, first on the air. There were no moderators in these rooms, so whenever somebody jumped on the mic and they were being a bit of a nuisance, it was up to every person that was hearing it to find that person in the participants list and click block or mute them. So as soon as you blocked the person being loud and obnoxious, you would hear the next person in line behind them. Sometimes you will hear somebody talking in the background of somebody else, but that's actually that person coming through the speakers of the person who is on the mic while they're talking. There's no actual background talking going on, it's only because you can physically hear it from their speakers into the microphone of the person who's talking. And the last thing I'll mention is that obviously I only recorded the audio coming from the chat room, and so sometimes you'll hear the person talking, seeing something that somebody else types in the chat, and they're responding to that, but we don't get to see that because I didn't record it, and really had no way of recording that kind of thing back in the day because screen capture was fairly new, and video screen capture was in its infancy. So unfortunately, this is the only recording like this that I have, and I've seen very few of them out there on the internet, which is regretful. What you probably don't want to hear is a recording of a fight room where all you hear is people screaming obscenities at each other at the top of their voice and just being as loud and as obnoxious as they can be. Was not a good time, and it got really annoying really quickly. So now I'll go into a little bit more of the technical on how this was recorded and why it was recorded that way, but otherwise you can skip to the beginning of the recording at this timestamp right here. You just have to click to it. So this was recorded using a digital hard disk recorder. It was the Roland VS880, and I had bought it to record my band. So like a studio audio recorder, it has 8 tracks. This one only had 4 inputs that you could record at a time. So I just plugged my computer's output from the sound card directly into the back of the recorder. And I may have only recorded one channel because this chat was obviously going to be mono. And it was recorded at CD quality. These devices were designed to pretty much emulate a tape recording scenario. So there was no date or timestamps on any of the recordings, and you would have to make your own notes of that, which I didn't really do. I dumped this recording from the device onto my computer in about 2006 via the digital coaxial cable, so it's pretty much a perfect CD quality recording, like you could probably just do with OBS these days. There was no record button on Yahoo Messenger back in the day, obviously because Yahoo would have gotten into so many privacy issues. And back then, recording the audio in a loopback from your sound card was possible, but it was mostly only available on certain newer sound cards, and definitely wasn't something that was built into Windows XP at the time. Being into audio production and having dealt with sound cards since I was 15 years old, I could have figured this out in 2003. But connecting the computer's audio output directly into this recording device that I was fortunate enough to have was a lot less complicated at the time. So I think that's all I've got to say up front about this video. I don't have anything to say at the end of this video. It'll just start where I hit record on the discussion, and once it got boring after almost an hour and a half, I just kind of pressed stop. There's really no beginning and no end, but there is a beginning and there is an end. There's just nothing orchestrated about it because the chat just would have gone on for hours and people would have come into the room and joined the conversation. People would have gone, it's time for me to go to work. I better leave and leave the conversation. And that's just the way that these chat rooms were at the time, based on my experience, which I did have a lot of back in the day. Yes, you could experience this kind of thing on Discord. I'm sure there's wonderful chats that happen all the time on the newer platforms. However, there's nothing these days that was quite like the unmoderated join a room, join the conversation, become a nuisance, get blocked, get muted type situation that they had. But while it was a thing, it was fun at the time. There obviously was the darker sides to Yahoo Chat, but this is just one example of just a conversation that happened between random strangers that join a room, no one knows who anyone is, and fortunately, they were civil enough to each other. So enough about me rambling about what I know about Yahoo Chat rooms and from what I experienced, and here's the recording. I hope you get something out of it. Enjoy.
He's dug in. That's 2/3. I never said exactly 2/3. And instead of just thinking straight.
Gentlemen, all I gotta say is this. Militarily speaking, we have divided our forces in the face of unknown enemy strength, location, and intention, which invites defeat in detail. This is not a good situation for us to be in, any of us.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't look good, does it?
Push too many people too forward too soon.
Overconfidence is a problem with American armies since time began. In World War II, we lost the battle at Kasserine Pass, which was a disaster. Every time, we don't have armies which are professional. We have armies which have not fought a war. They are fighting veterans. And the fact is, man, once they're blooded veterans, this war will go much better. The fact is if they live that long, there's the reality. And the fact is, man, is that it's a simple enough doctrinal military kind of a situation. This is very conventional warfare, very much like World War II. We are not in a good position, and we need to reinforce, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, but let's not forget, I mean, as I said, let's not forget, we're only 1 week into this war. I mean, look at how long it took to make the advances that we did in World War II, or Korea, or things like that. And this is just 1 week. This war's by far drawn to a conclusion.
1 week at all. It's the fact is, in the Second World War, it was advanced. You knew where the front line was. You knew who you was fighting. You've advanced into a country that the majority of the people do want you there. The majority of the people don't. There's no saying unless you're actually in Iraq, you're living there. You've moved across a country. You haven't advanced nowhere because it's not secure. Nothing's secure. All you've done is moved up a road that you've created yourself, and that's what you're guarding. The first thing that took control of was oil fields, and it was supposed to be for the people. Explain.
Hang on. Oh, do you? Let me just put my 10 cents in here, or 10 pence. Firstly, the planning of the United States was correct in that they thought that the regular army would give up, and that's happened. But what they didn't take into account was that the government of Iraq is not ruled by the regular army. It's the special police, secret police, and they didn't take that into account. Now, I'm not saying that we're more clever here, but I knew in Britain, right, before all this happened, that the regular army would be no problem for the United States and for Britain. The problem would be the secret police, right, the Ba'ath Party, the people that are armed with submachine guns, that actually aren't part of the regular army. They're the ones that are causing the problems, not the regular army.
If I can interject for a second. You guys, someone said they're putting up a hell of a fight. Where? They're not putting up a hell of a fight. We've blown up more of our own men than they've blown up. We went all the way to Baghdad, and we were fighting them in the cities. See, the British were taking up the rear. The British were in Qasar taking care of things. The British were in Basra. The British were going to Nasiriyat, whatever. We lost 20 guys after a week. 20 guys on each, 40 guys altogether, and some POWs. And we've taken 4,000 or 5,000 of their troops, or 3,000 or 4,000, whatever. And we'd blown up, you know. I don't know. They say we've killed something like 2,000 soldiers, but I think we've probably blown up a lot more. You're talking about this Medina and Nebuchadnezzar and the Saddam and the Baghdad fleets, and they're waiting up there, and these are veterans. It doesn't matter if they're veterans. These are the tanks and the soldiers. When they were running up to Baghdad in Desert Storm, they left behind like 20 tanks along this ridge. We came over the horizon. Our tanks saw them. They blew them all off the desert in about 3 minutes. The only thing that makes this war any kind of a challenge, and I think we got to be realistic about this, is the political considerations. And this is what's being said a lot on Fox News by the military guys. They're saying, we could flatten these folks, but we're taking it easy for political reasons. We could flatten them in Basra, we could flatten them wherever, but we would have significant civilian casualties. So we don't want to do that. So we're taking it slow. The British are going around. They're trying to pull them out of the buildings. They're killing them one by one. Yes, we're going to have these uprisings by the loyalists, but and then someone else said that our forces are not well trained. The aspects of our forces, in fact, all of our forces, but specifically the most important aspects of our forces. Yeah, I listen to the media real well. That matter to this war are well trained. The special forces came out of Afghanistan. They've got experience. We've got special forces from Poland, Britain, Australia, America, Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Berets. They can go around and kill all these folks that are giving trouble in every city. That's what they're doing now. They're running around Baghdad now. They've been going around Baghdad for months. Then the air support. They're very well experienced, very well practiced. We've got very good bombs. They're experienced from Bosnia, from Yugoslavia, not so much from Bosnia, but Yugoslavia, the last several conflicts. And if, say, we don't have, hold on one second, Robert, say we don't have, 200 tanks, We only have 100. Well, we've got the Air Forces who can go over and blow them out anyways. The only thing, the Special Forces have been running around Baghdad for months. The only thing that Saddam has is chemical weapons. And as soon as he uses them, that is going to take away all these little political considerations. Saddam's still alive because Saddam's very good, but he's going to be dead soon, and we did bomb him on the first night, and he is very injured right now, and he hasn't been on TV since the beginning of the war. But as soon as he uses the chemical weapons, we're going to forget about all this pussyfooting, and we'll blow the shit out of whoever confronts us. It's going to be over soon, and as soon as it's obvious that the regime has eclipsed. Look, Pacific Angel just says with that easy we would have done it by now and finished it. It's 1 week. 1 week to take over a country? No, there's going to be challenges. You're completely changing the government. It's going to take a month or 2 months or 3 months, but even at that rate, it's going to be a great success.
Oh, I'm going to just answer that. Hang on, nomadic Prince. At the end of the day, a professional army has to be trained in how to be efficient in doing what armies do, which is killing. Right? That's the first point. Second point, a professional army has to be skilled in handling people, not the enemy. Not the enemy. The people that are left, the Iraqi civilians. And I'm not going to knock the USA. Well, I am. Just for today. Alright? Don't get upset, guys. Your army is not skilled at dealing with civilians. That's why you left the British to handle the situation in Basra. That's the reality. Well, I tell you something. I'm not going to argue that point. You go and watch the different news channels. After you've actually taken a town, you have to handle the civilian population. And there's no point walking into a city and scaring the shit out of them. Because at the end of the day, these people are scared anyway. These civilians need people who can talk to them. And I have to say, and I'm not being disrespectful, I don't think American troops are very well trained in that aspect. You can agree or disagree with me, but that's my point of view. And you can watch the different news channels and you'll see how...
Yeah, but give some basis to that opinion.
Well, you have to just go and watch other channels other than CNN. Go and watch BBC. Go and watch how the British troops are handling the people in Qatar, for example.
You know what I mean? Like,
Don't watch the BBC. I mean, one of their own bloody journalists have written a letter to the CEO blasting him because the BBC are deliberately distorting his reports. So, I mean, from all I've been picking up, the BBC is not giving an accurate portrayal of what's going on.
The BBC were caught quoting. The BBC were caught quoting a press escort given by the Iraqi government as an Iraqi civilian. So the Iraqi government gives this press escort to the BBC, and they quote him as having an unbiased opinion. But it doesn't matter. I think the BBC coverage is okay in general. They've definitely changed their tone a lot since the beginning of the war, which I'm glad of because I thought all of Britain was brain dead for a while. But regarding, if I can say this real quickly, step 43. Regarding the special forces, I had this argument with my brother the other day. He's over in Northern Ireland. And he said, oh, the British forces are so great. They're taking care of, the British Special Forces, SAS, are taking the major role. No, they're taking the role that we're hearing about. Do you notice we haven't heard one thing about what the Navy SEALs are doing? That's because America does not advertise their special forces in any way. We started to advertise the Polish special forces. Rumsfeld did. He mentioned them. The Polish government got very upset. The SAS doesn't mind being advertised. America does. We're not hearing about what the Delta Force is doing. The American government doesn't even talk about the existence of Delta Forces, nor Navy SEALs, nor any of these other groups. But, they're the ones running around Pakistan. The only reason why the war on terrorism, as we're calling it, has stalled somewhat is because the autonomy that the Special Forces had, the American Special Forces had at the beginning of the Afghanistan, whatever the hell they called it, war, is because they had autonomy, but that was taken away from them. And then they've got to kind of prove everything through Central Command. We'll give them the same free reign in Iraq once we have to because of the introduction of chemical weapons. And at that point, they'll be just as successful. They took over the ground in Afghanistan on their own.
Man, I got to tell you, you have a very interesting view of special ops. And all I'm going to say is that Navy SEALs have been mentioned on many occasions. Special Forces are mentioned every day. You hear about them as the 173rd Airborne Brigade, which doesn't really exist. It's a cover for the 10th Mountain Division. And the bottom line, brother, is that they haven't been running around in Baghdad. Nobody's running around in Baghdad. What they're doing is they are doing the merry pranks they've always done, and that's what they're doing. I am an ex-Navy SEAL, so there it is, man. Yeah, I'm hearing you, man. Go ahead.
Are you an actual doctor?
It's me. Hang on, look, it's me. You know, you do. Hang on, doctor. Hang on a minute.
My turn. He asked me to ask him something, so you just hold on a minute, all right? Now, doctor, are you a real doctor, Mr. I'm Doctor is this guy?
We've got idiots on the line. Tell me something right. Every time
Whoa.
the Americans or British have bombed any place in Iraq, they produce...
I'm an MD, Berkeley class of 1967, and I spent about 28 years of my life in the Navy, and I was with Special Warfare in Vietnam, and I am, in fact, yes.
I have an actual question.
Oh, Jack.
I'm hoping maybe one of you can answer, but you know them muscle stimulator things that they sell on QVC?
Anyway, I was about to say, anyway, it really...
Let's not walk over them, please.
Okay, Mr. Little Tree and Trumpet.
Yeah, sorry.
Remember us?
Hello? Can I ask my question now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, so I got a muscle stimulator. I put it up to my testicles. I want to know if that's safe or not.
Shut up. We're having a good conversation here. Everybody, well, it's the wrong room to ask the question about your anal stimulator.
Everybody ignore as planned 510-2000.
What do you expect? He's from San Francisco.
You're just dragging this out. I just want an honest, quick answer.
Can I just say, I don't think it helps, in the chat room, asking for people's credentials. I mean, you want me to put my certificate up? I will do that. But I don't need to, alright? I don't think doctor has to prove what he is. It's ridiculous.
Jack, what's up?
Yeah, that's exactly right. When people...
Hang on. I'd like to know where you get off saying that we're brain dead, the British are brain dead. Hang on. Why are we brain dead? Because we don't what you're doing.
No, I said, hold on, Step. He asked me a question.
Why is there no evidence of British or American missiles in the marketplace? Any other time there is evidence.
Tony, it was just a slur. I don't think he specifically meant anything by it, but I could be wrong.
No, well, I'll tell you what I meant by it, if you can hold on 1 second. What I said was the BBC has changed their attitude very much, which is good because for a while I thought the British was brain dead. What I mean is when the vast majority of British people, including most of my family in the UK, were very much against the war, and the things that they were saying against the war, made me feel that they were brain dead. It's an American term. It means brain being dead, and not thinking, not reasoning. As far as I'm concerned, this war is very simply justified. You just look at the timeline. Tony Blair's done the best job by far of articulating the justification for the war. You look at the timeline and the false declarations and the resolutions, and no war could really be any better justified. No, I know, and I know the British are some of the smartest people in the world. I love them. I'm Irish by descent, but they were just being very stupid on this issue. I'd expected of some people in some South American countries who don't really participate on the global level, but I didn't expect it of the British.
Excuse me, I mean, this means that basically no one else can have another opinion other than yours. So if no one else if everyone doesn't agree with what you say, they're brain dead. I'm sorry, but that is the... No. Hang on a second. Alex, shut up. I'm talking. Basically, so you've got to be able to understand other people's points of view. I mean, people go into these things. I'm going to give up.
You should.
Hey guys, can we please all try not to step on each other? I mean, I can understand offence being taken at the term used, but at least the way I see it, I think it's been a bit misconstrued. In his opinion, okay, emphasis, his opinion, he felt people were brain dead for having a position of opposition against this war because he feels it's justified. All right? Now, that may be wrong, but that is what he said, okay? His opinion. He is not making a generalized statement.
So if I was to say, hang on, I think the Americans are brain dead. Hang on, the Americans are brain dead to justify this war because they got misinformation which is totally wrong. Don't you feel the Americans would take offence to that, and I would accept them to take offence to it because the information they've got is totally wrong. And this war is not going to be based on that quick. Hang on, you had your say. Hang on, you had your say. And this war is not going to be based on how many Iraqi people you take out. This war is going to be based, the longer it takes, the more chance that Saddam Hussein is going to win this war at the end of it. And that's why they're trying to get this war over and done with. Because the longer it takes, he wins. Because other countries are already now turning coat and saying, hang on, this is far too far.
I think the British are the best people on earth. I just think they were being brain dead on this issue when they were in such opposition. For instance, hold on 1 second, Step. Fine, go ahead, Step.
The minority of the British that you're talking about, not the majority. The majority believe.
You go, Angel Baby, go.
Let's not step on each other, but to finish the point I was making, the majority of the British were against it. We're more united now. The tone has very much changed in the UK. Hold on, Step. Fine, go ahead, Step.
The majority of the British people are for the war.
Yes, now they are.
No, before that, they get Ryan polls here. I asked everybody in Scotland. I stay in Scotland, and I asked all my friends.
Well, I'll tell you why the stance of the British people has changed. Not because they agree necessarily 100% about this. The reason they have changed their stance is that it's quite simple, you know. Once Tony Blair has committed the troops to Iraq, if we appear to be in disagreement, then we are putting their lives at risk. Because if you're out in the front line, you don't really want, 70% of the British public telling you that they hate this war. That's not going to help you if you're out in the front line. And I don't know if you know this, but all the British troops see, I'm not going to say BBC, because obviously it's a raw nerve there. I will say they are seeing British broadcasting, and they certainly don't want to see lack of support here. That's why we've moved in that direction. Not because we actually agree anymore with it, but we don't think it's a good situation now to disagree. Because we will lose more lives by disagreeing. That's the whole point. Not because we're brain dead and we've suddenly got sense. That's got nothing to do with it, really.
Okay, well, let's go back to the basis of the issue then, which isn't what I really wanted to bring up because it's something that's been debated ad nauseum already. But, for instance, Rick started, I think it was Rick, made some baseless claims. He said the Americans, are I don't know, something along the lines of what Michael Moore said at the Oscars, fictitious reasons for fictitious war by fictitious president. If you want to debate the justification for the war, let's do that. But, this thing that is very popular nowadays, it says an opinion. Hold on, Alice. Let's not step on each other, because when you do that, it ends up talking on someone's speakers or in their headphone. But this opinion that we've got nowadays that an opinion justifies itself and that all opinions are equal is nonsense. And when I put forth an opinion, I'm not saying it's right because it's my opinion. I'm saying it's right because of the reasoning I present with the opinion. Then you debate on the basis of reason. But nowadays you present opinions and they say, oh, you think your opinion's right because, you're an American, America's strong, and mine is right. No, I think my opinion is right for the reasons I'm presenting along within the opinion. I had this debate with a Pakistani, and this is another thing about the British versus other peoples. I would expect it from a Pakistani because they're not very socially evolved. Hold on, Alice. hold on, Alice. They're not very socially evolved. They're a very religious society. I think there's a lot of misinterpretation of Islam and a lot of misusing the religion for political reasons. So, when I debate with a Pakistani for 3 hours and I prove him wrong over and over and over and over and over again, and he still says, "Oh no, America believes in bullying," that's one thing. But the British, I expect more of. And if you and don't say that the British, the opinion that the majority of British people supported, justified itself. Go ahead, Justin.
Damn right, when I come on this mic, you better get the fuck off, bitch.
Now that's what I call an angry man.
Damn right, if you piss me off, I'll kick your ass.
Because you're there. Guess what? We got you ignored. We got you ignored, Justin. And nobody's going to listen to you unless they want to.
Listen, guys, I've got mates in the golf just now.
So I can do that to you too, but...
Anyway, I would just quickly say that. Sorry, Kurt. Oh, go on, Kurt. Sorry, Kurt.
Yeah.
Don't steal the mic off me.
At the end of the day, we all live in democratic societies, and in Britain and in America. In Iraq, they don't live in democratic society, other than in any Middle Eastern country. Now, at the end of the day, it's the right of people to agree or disagree. Because it doesn't suit the current policy, we can't criticize them. We may disagree with them, but we can't criticize them, right?
Well, like you said, the whole ethic has changed since the war. Go ahead, Step.
Britain and America are right.
Shadrach, man, I mean, you have interesting opinions, and they are highly media-based. And sometimes you see where having an opinion will get you in trouble. Isn't that amazing?
Steph, are you not talking there?
How's it going, dog boys? We're just talking about this war.
Well, Johnny, man, why don't you say something?
Well, just because I have a popular opinion, I don't think implies it's media-based. Perhaps a bit deep for me. Come on, CBUK, I'm putting forth more coherent arguments than anyone else in the room. But just because I have a popular opinion doesn't say it's media-based. Maybe it's based in the same reason that the media is proclaiming. If I was arguing for peace, you wouldn't say, "Oh, you have a peacenik opinion or a media-based opinion of a different media."
Shad, all I'm saying, brother, is that having an opinion of any kind and expressing it is often more dangerous than just listening. I don't know. Hi, Mickey.
Yeah, but chat rooms aren't really for that, so.
Boys, are you alright?
I think at the end of the day, let me just summarize this because we're not getting anywhere here. At the end of the day, we all have our own opinions, and we, or anybody, would be arrogant to think that he is right and everyone else is wrong. I mean, that's the whole issue here. And I can see where, I've forgotten his name now, Shrek is coming from. Shrek, sorry.
Yeah, go dude.
Listen, mate, the name's Step, and the war is just...
Several huge explosions on TV in Iraq. I think we're using some of the larger munitions because we're really out of the smaller ones. Hey, what's happening, ma'am? You're back.
We are. We're using the bigger ones.
There's Jack, dude.
Again, we come back to this idea of opinions being meant... Hold on, Alice. Opinions being meant to justify themselves. I'm not saying I'm right and everyone else is wrong. I'm saying I think this is what is right. It's not about me being right or not. It's about, I think this is the truth of the situation. I think this war is justified for this reasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I'm saying what I think is right. But it's not about me being right. I'm not making a personal argument that's personally relevant.
Is it justified?
And no one's saying that you shouldn't, brother. no one's saying you shouldn't express opinions, man. I just say to you that sometimes having an opinion will get you in trouble. I think that's kind of funny. I mean, it certainly gets me in trouble.
Gets me all the time.
And it's important to be able to accept other people's opinions and to see their point of view. You might not agree with it, but you know.
Listen.
Hey Rick, who was stepping on you just then?
About 5 or 6 people. Steph is right now, and just take your pick, Jack. Anybody, he'll seem to have a go.
Hello, please. It's the first time for me.
I apologise. What do we do against regimes in Iraq?
Yeah, but you say you based your opinion. Your opinions come from the media or what people want you to know. It's not come from facts, the same as mine hasn't. Now you're pro this war. I'm totally against it. You can give me you can give me reasons for it, and I can give you reasons not for it. Now, which one is right? Nobody's opinion. But I wouldn't turn around and say, well, the Americans are brain dead, or personally attack a race because they don't agree with something. So I don't know how you get that opinion to attack somebody.
I think, hold on, Step. Doctor, I think the problem is not having an opinion, but admitting there's an opinion. And secondly, maybe calling some people brain dead in an offhanded comment. But to address Pacific something, she said, truth is relative based on history, upbringing, and perspective. If that were true, we could have no social order. That is not true. Now, when I say the war is justified, I'm talking about according to the process that the UN went through, the process that the world community went through, according to our the law that we've set up over centuries, the system of law. I'm not necessarily, talking about, the morality of it and having philosophical and religious concerns mixed into that is another issue. But when I say the war is justified, I'm saying it's justified according to the principles set forth and agreed upon by the world community. In other words, we agreed to go and liberate Kuwait. America did the bulk of the hard work. Notice we didn't stay and control Kuwait. In fact, they were quite hateful of us many years later. But you talk about imperialism all the time, American imperialism. We weren't imperialistic in that instance. We left Kuwait. We said, just as we said in Japan and Germany and all these other powers that did bad things, you can't have weapons of mass destruction. You can't be militarily significant, at least for some time. Hold on a second, Doctor. Then we said he's got to disarm. We went through this long process, and it was drawn out far too long. As far as I'm concerned, 6 months after the resolution that he had to disarm when he hadn't, is some military action. We should have sent troops back to the shore. We should have taken out the government. But that's another issue. But there's no denying in my perception of it that there is justification. He proved himself a liar umpteen times. We all know that he did have WMD, and for anybody to say that there was being progress, this is what people say, there was progress being made by the inspectors, to say that is just, you're either extremely naive or stupid, because there was no progress being made. So unless you're to go against all the other 18 resolutions and the agreement of the world community previous to this point, you have to agree that war is in order. Or not specifically war, but whatever action is necessary in order to take away the weapons of mass destruction.
Anyway, I'm going to say one thing now on this, right? When you have a discussion, buddy or mate, whatever you want me to call you, at the end of the day, sometimes I say things that maybe were not quite correct, and I will say, well, maybe I was wrong. I think although you've got a lot of validity in what you're saying, where you went wrong, you attempted to call other nations brain dead, and that didn't help your case. Because even so, a lot of the things you said were correct. You lost your validity by calling other nations brain dead. That's where you went wrong, mate. And what you're going to say was, oh, well, I really didn't mean that, but I think we should carry on the war for these reasons. That's where you went wrong.
I agree with you there, Robert. That's where he lost it. He was doing quite well when I came into the room. And, he nearly justified brain dead, and then he came in with it again. No, I'm sorry, I've got to agree with you there, Robert.
Well, I hope at some point you can get over brain dead. I'm very sorry. I went on to say that I think the British are the best people in the world, but I guess people didn't hear that part. Not that either thing really matters.
Frankly, man, it's always a matter of opinion, and Pacific's right about this deal right here, man. The world is definitely divided, and there is no real consensus as to whether or not there's going to be as to whether or not this war is even justifiable. The only thing that I can suggest is if you have troops there, you have to back them up regardless of the political consequences of the situation. That's all. I'm more interested in the welfare of my people than in the welfare of my government, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, back you up on that, Doc.
Of course the war's justifiable.
And welfare checks are also good to be interested in.
Hey guys, how's it going?
I mean, let's also look at something else. Regardless of the division of world opinion, which I'm really starting to think that's what Saddam is actually counting on to force the governments involved to bring this war to a close before they take over Iraq completely. I don't believe that'll happen. I believe regardless of how bad world opinion gets, this is going to go on and it will be completed until that regime is at an end.
You'll have to take out half of Iraq to do that. You know, you've got to kill millions and millions of civilians to do that, Jack. I know it, you know it, and they know it. And that is not going to happen. They're already talking about pressing war crime charges against Britain and America. It's an independence group for blowing up a TV station. What's going to happen when we send the real bombs in?
We blew up TV stations in Bosnia and Yugoslavia. Hold on one sec, Auntie Jack. I'm not going to use any divisive comments, but this is really wrong. You're saying that that we're going to have to kill millions of troops or civilians. Did we have to kill millions in Afghanistan or Yugoslavia?
Yugoslavia, hang on, Doctor. You are not talking about the same amount of people. You know, it sounds to me like you just don't understand these people. I live with them every single day or near to them. And I can tell you don't understand these people. Don't look at these people if they're like us. Don't look at Yugoslavia as the same as Iraq. Don't look at Iran as the same as Yugoslavia. These people are not like that. Believe me. And when you live with them, you'll say, no, they're not.
Okay, well, you see, what I referenced Yugoslavia. Go ahead, Auntie.
Thanks, mate. Tony, I understand what you're saying, okay, the whole culture thing. We in the West don't have a grasp or even a proper comprehension of the culture and the way that people think. That I accept. But I think your statement was a little bit over the top, mate, because I have seen a lot, okay, Iraqi citizens that have fled Iraq, even some that have fled Iraq only 3 months ago, interviewed here on Australian television. They have told in detail what is going on inside Iraq, that most of the people in Iraq hate Saddam's guts and hate the Ba'ath Party, but they are being forced to take the position they are. And they have said themselves, they have tried to take Saddam out so many times, but they were not successful because his secret police is too powerful. And they themselves have said there is only one way for this regime to come to an end, and that is a war.
Yeah, you're right, Auntie. Absolutely. But I think the point that Tony was making is that at the end of the day, you know, there are, when you talk about the secret police or the Ba'ath Party, it isn't 1 or 2 people. It isn't 3 people. It isn't 1,000 people. It isn't 10,000. It is millions. It could be even 10% of the Iraqi population are still supporting Saddam because they're in this party. And I think those are the people that Tony Mint would have to be killed. The average Iraqi hates the sight of Saddam. We all agree with that. We've had Iraqis on the I better not say BBC because it's a bad word. I will say British television because that covers ITV, Sky News. It covers a whole multitude of channels here. We have seen all these Iraqis that come on television and hate Saddam. That's not the issue. The issue is that you have to take out the Ba'ath Party members, and the Ba'ath Party members are numerous. There is thousands, if not millions of them. I don't know the exact percentages because in Middle Eastern countries they don't publish percentages, but it's a large percentage of the population. It isn't the majority. They're in the minority, but they are a large percentage.
It's that just because you're a member of the Ba'ath Party doesn't mean you're going to die for it or that you're that critically aligned with it any more than being a Democrat in America means you're going to die for Al Gore. Hold on, Robert. In fact, only a very, 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 very small percentage will give a damn, even if, you know, the Supreme Court steals the election for Al Gore. Well, it's a bit weak of an analogy. What we have to do is, one second, Robert, break the back of support for Saddam. I think it's less than 10,000 people, and if we kill 10,000 people, it'll be less than were killed in Desert Storm. It'll be less than the amount of Kuwaitis that were killed by Iraq.
No, I'm going to take you up on that point. First of all, it's an unfair comparison to compare the Ba'ath Party in Iraq with any sort of party in America or any party in Europe. They are currently armed. There is somewhere in the region of, I don't know how many thousands of submachine guns that these Ba'ath Party members have access to. When they actually invaded Qasr, they invaded the Ba'ath Party headquarters. It was full of weapons. So, you know, it's a bit of a tenuous discussion to try and compare a similar party in Europe to the Ba'ath Party. If you want to say Ba'ath Party and you want to say secret police, they're one and the same. There is no difference. And I'm not being disrespectful, but if you went to the Middle East and studied about these countries, you would find what I was saying was correct. Absolutely.
Well, I think the next several months will prove that you're not correct in saying that the Ba'ath Party existing as some sort of secret police in effect amounts to millions of people. I believe you said that, or even any more than 10,000. When I compared it to the Democratic Party, I'm not saying that's the same in nature, but I'm talking about the nature, human nature, the nature of organizations. When people participate in an organization, any organization, your dedication to that organization is concomitant with your power or position within that organization. So you've got a pole, which is Saddam Hussein, and then it comes away from, and the further you get away, the broader the base is. But once you get far enough away from Saddam, the actual commitment is very minimal. Hold on one second, Robert. You've got a lot of people. What Saddam did, and this is something that wasn't publicized before the war. Before the war, we knew very little about Tikrit and the fact that he had rallied a lot of people from there. But what he did was very smart, because he by what's the word? Not rallying, but not enrolling, but you know, by using people from Tikrit who were geographically segregated, he has aligned them with him and then and segregated them in support of him, so they feel that their fates are aligned, and they feel that if Saddam goes out, they're going to be killed anyways, just as much as the Kurds are together in the north. Tikrit is a base of support for Saddam, and I'd hate to be a Tikriti in Iraq, even living among other Iraqis after the war. But even with that said, it's just not as extensive as what you're saying, because that many people cannot feel that much of a duty and responsibility within what any organization to want to die for it or to be that dedicated.
Of course they can. Look at it.
Well, listen now. We're not. Let me just hang on. Let me just say this. Go on then.
Listen, my wife is Maltese. She's split between European and Iraqi Lebanese. Okay? Same nature. Now, my wife's an average housewife. Man's dream, as they say. I'll tell you something. Come and try and take her land, and she'll tear your eyes out and spell for you. Because her nature and her blood is die for what you believe in. Because we've lost that, and we don't believe in that anymore, doesn't mean they've lost that, and they don't believe in it. So you seem to be missing this vital part of these people. It's not. You're trying to paint them as us. They're not like us. Get that out of your mind. We are organised. We know what we're doing. We've been cooled down over years. They have not been cooled down yet. And I'll tell you, I live with Lebanese people. Men, you have so much trouble with them because they've got this attitude. They don't care what you say. They don't care what you do. They're just going to do what they want to do.
Go on yourself, big.
Well, you're right in a way, but I'm not going to say any more on this topic. But Shad, you can't really say I'm not convinced that the Ba'ath Party don't control Iraq. It may only be 10,000. That is not a valid argument. What you need to do is go and study the area and study the politics of the area, and you will find that the Ba'ath Party has controlled Iraq by force for nearly 30 years. And I don't need to convince you. I'm not even going to try to convince you. You need to convince yourself, because that's the reality.
You don't need to convince me, and I don't need to convince myself either. I know what you're saying is right. I never said that the Ba'ath Party wasn't a large organization, or that they didn't control Iraq, or that they didn't do it by force, or that they haven't asserted a tremendous amount of will over the Iraqi people over the past decades. What I'm saying is that within any organization, there can only be so many or so large a percentage of people that feel that they have a significant enough position within the organization to justify their dying for it. Now, you're not talking, if you're talking about something religiously oriented or something that's based on principle, like the American Revolution and the Minutemen, the farmers who were going out and assassinating the redcoats, that's different. But these people are fighting basically to, what do they call it, a cult of personality. They're in support of this man. They're in it for their own empowerment because Saddam has spoiled them for decades, and I'm not saying they're not numerous. What I'm saying is that once the back needs to be broken within that force, and once that happens, once Saddam's dead, or once a certain percentage of his top men defy him and support America or surrender to America, all these little minions who were exacting his force upon the Iraqi people over the past decades are going to say, right, that's over. And they're not going to be camping out in their huts for forever. It's not going to happen. And that's not baseless. That's human nature, that's psychology, that's been proven over history by the nature of many conflicts.
Okay, hang on. I want to... Robert. Thank you, mate. I wanted to say, look, what I have heard is the Ba'ath Party can very much be compared to Stalinism, and it can be compared to Nazism. Now look at the Nazis, for example. Now a lot of those Nazis that were in very high ranks of power were catfighting against each other, and and they showed a certain loyalty to Hitler. But a lot of those people, their loyalty was to themselves and what they could get out of it, the power and everything else. Martin Bormann is a perfect example. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I'm pretty sure there'd be people like in exactly the same situation here.
I've got a request. Let's move on, because this discussion about the Ba'ath Party is getting a bit tedious, really. We all know that
All I want to know is what's the Ba'ath Party and can we all have one?
Ooh, I'm with Cutie. Get down.
Bring the soap.
I think he goes down also. Sorry, Johnny. I think also based down, sorry Mickey, based on, we're not willing to accept other people's lifestyles. We want to change everybody. It doesn't mean necessarily they want to change.
I wear my soap on a rope just in case I get arrested.
No, you don't drop it.
So are you saying, Tony, that America and other countries are being worse than a woman?
Well, I'll say this to you. I wouldn't like somebody coming into my house telling me what to do. Would you like somebody coming into your house to tell you what to do?
Well, I assume that you're married.
I do every day. I'm my husband every day.
I'm happily married with 2 children, 2 young children, yeah.
So somebody did come into your house and boss you about then. So it's
It's a little different from your house to your country.
Hey, well, hang on. I'm just trying to justify what he's trying to say here. Who comes into my house and bosses me about directly? Nobody.
You can kick somebody out of your...
Man, Johnny, man, you got something to say, brother? I mean, I've been watching your name flash on and off. You ain't said shit, so say something, brother.
We're talking about an entire country, not your house. Your house is a little different. You can throw someone out your front door.
Yeah, that's sure.
Come in my house bossing me around. I got a 357, so you ain't going to do it.
Well, see, I apologise there. Just trying to see, but that's the same principle. I wouldn't like nobody to come into my country telling me what to do. I don't think you would justify somebody doing that, so why are we doing it to other people?
And run your country and don't have weapons of mass destruction, there's nobody that's going to do that. But if you don't, and you lack the integrity, and you put the whole country and nation, then you lost. If you can't keep your own backyard clean, then it's not our fault. We have to come clean it up.
Yeah, to extend the house analogy, you're saying, I don't want to let someone in my house to tell me what to do, so I'm not going to let them into my country, so how can we expect the Iraqis to do that? Here's what it's more like. If there's a little kid in the house and the kids are getting molested and bad times, they're going to, even if they rejected it in the moment, they're going to very much appreciate and welcome the social workers who come in and save them and deliver them from that over time. So if you want to compare Iraq to a house, that's what it is. You've got this real sadistic, disgusting dad in Iraq, and he's beating and abusing and molesting his people or his children, and America's a social workers. Unfortunately, we don't want to be the social workers, but we have to be, and we're going in to get the kids away, take a dad, and we'll shoot them if we have to. We'll take control of the house, and then we'll put in better parents.
I don't think that we want to go to all these other countries and be the watchdog. It's because they lack the integrity, the government, the structure. What are we going to do? Let them fall apart? Let another 9/11 happen?
Well, it's not all these countries. There's no sign that we'll have to do the same really in any other country. The pressure of what we do in Iraq will influence the future decisions of Syria and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and many other countries once they realize what we can do and what we will do or forced to. But Iraq, everyone makes these broad statements about, oh, what are you going to do after Iraq? You're going to go down and blow up this country and that country and every country you disagree with? No, not at all. We're only doing what we are in Iraq because we have to, because of the threat and because of the history.
Grenada, we go into every country. Every time someone needs help, we go bail them out. That's the bottom line. We've done it with the Brits, the Canadians, we've done it with everybody. We're the watchdog of the world, whether we like it or not, and whether we agree with it or not. That's the way it is.
What threat has Saddam Hussein gave to the Western world or anywhere else? I mean, you see a threat. He's not threatening nobody. I don't know where you get the threat from.
Okay, I'll tell you. He is an aggressive dictator with weapons of mass destruction that he's not allowed to have. He has publicly voiced his hatred of America for as long as he's been in power. He tried to kill George Bush Sr. He attacked American forces abroad when we liberated Kuwait. He's attacked his neighbors, and then we come to the issue of has he attacked us specifically? No, but there's a new phenomena we're going to have to accept in 2003 and beyond, and ever since September 11th. It's called preemptive defense. That means very often we're going to have to take out people before they can take us out. Why? Because we've got weapons that are too powerful. Because once they put in the first strike, it's going to be too devastating. We can't wait for them. In an age of tanks, you know, we could wait for Saddam to, you know, come over by Iceland and Newfoundland and drive down through Canada and start, you know, bombing New York with his 2 Russian tanks. Then we could attack him. We could wait for that, and we would wait for the imminent threat, as it were. But now he can drop mustard gas or nerve agent or anthrax, and he'll kill 10 million people, and, you know, he'll do a much more professional job than Al-Qaeda ever could. And then the world economy will be devastated. Even if he doesn't attack us, he can attack his neighbors, and at some point we're going to have to go in and stop him. We had to do it in Kuwait. Yeah, I'll leave now, cute girl. But let me finish this one statement. I got to go anyways. I think the UN is a silly idea, because if the world could agree, the UN says basically the world has to agree, or the essential portion of the world has to agree in order to take some action. If we could, we wouldn't need the UN. So the UN is really a silly idea. And besides the fact that all the diplomats are just inane and purposeless, and all that's said in the UN is basically to no good end, or completely insincere. But Saddam did something so stupid in attacking Kuwait that the world community could actually agree to come against him. It really took a great amount of recklessness and stupidity, but he did it.
Can I just come back on you? So does that happen?
Yeah, just 1 second, please. If you think he's not going to, you're naive. He'll attack his neighbors eventually. He's built these weapons of mass destruction and now smooth missiles even while the sanctions and whatnot were in place. And the only question is, are we going to do it now or are we going to do it later? Then people say, well, why aren't we taking out Iran? They have nuclear weapons. What is this rationale that says you should wait until an enemy...
Yeah, let me just come back. Hang on, Rob. Hang on. Before you run away, does that mean that Britain has the right to back America for supporting the IRA terrorism all over England for 50 years, killing people? I don't think you'd give that kind of permission. And secondly, when you talk about him invading Kuwait, don't put it as if he wanted to invade Kuwait.
You can't when they're weaker.
Excuse me, Tony, can you please back off your mic a bit, mate? It's come across very loud.
Yeah, I just can't justify what he's saying.
Well, I tell you something. I thought he had some good arguments when he first came in the room, but he's just repeating United States media rhetoric. And I think he's got a bit paranoid. I mean, why the hell is America so scared when we only live 5 hours flight time from the Middle East? I mean, we're under far greater threat than any people in the United States living in Europe. And it's just ridiculous.
Americans were afraid. The Americans are the ones that are always there first. The Americans are the ones that are picking up everybody. Where'd you get afraid from?
No, he was talking about preemptive strikes and all that. I mean, let's be real. America is under no threat from the United States, is under no threat from any country. It may be under threat from... You may be under threat from...
Oh, sorry, Robert. I've got to disagree with you there, because according to intelligence reports that have come out, The missiles they have in North Korea can apparently reach Australia and can reach the western seaboard of the United States. So I disagree with you there.
Hang on, one thing to Q. I mean, because she's got this bee in her bonnet, you know, about so-called bailing everybody out. Can you tell me how you bailed?
I didn't hear you.
Excuse me, Q. Yeah, I know. Sorry, my apologies there. Can you tell me how?
How? Do we leave everyone?
No, something must have gone wrong with Tony's audio. He's still in my list, but
Let me opinion. Who's trying to beat me? They don't like opinion.
I'm sorry. I think a scud must have hit over there.
Let me finish with this one, Q. The Irish Americans, for 50 years, while the Irish Americans supported and paid for the killing of children, women, and innocent people in England, supporting them to buy these arms. Where were you then? Now all of a sudden, we're all the police of the world. Where were you then? That's all I want to know.
Where were we then? Where were we then when we picked up Britain? Where were we then when we got Canada back on their feet? Hey, this is war. Women, children alike, this is war.
Excuse me.
Oh my God. Give me a break. Are you drinking? I mean, don't you understand? I don't like what our country does as far as our government getting in everybody's business. I think it's bullshit. But when a country like Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, this Earth as we know it is in violation. What are we going to do? Wait for him to push the button? How stupid is that? We did that on 9/11. How many children and how many women did they kill? How many, if it doesn't stop here, we may not agree with.
Acute. What is the biggest weapon of mass destruction? It is a nuclear bomb. And who's got the most nuclear bombs? America. And it only takes one accident for the world to be destroyed. So that argument doesn't stand up, I'm afraid, when we come to weapons of mass destruction. And if he's got them, why hasn't he used them? He's been invaded. He wants to mass destroy his invaders. He hasn't used them. Where are they?
hang on. Look, we all know the US has got the largest nuclear arsenal, okay? We all know the US has got chemical and biological weapons, right? The difference being, yeah, they got those weapons, but they're not out using them on their own populace. They're not out threatening other countries with them. And that's a big, big difference. And I don't think you can compare the two.
Anyway, if someone wants to disagree with me, that's fine. I have this white tunnel, and it didn't quite work very well because some person called Black Angel just tried to send me a multi-line PM to boot me out of the room. And that's what I find more disgusting. I don't mind people that I can disagree with, but I really have a problem with people who boot others out of the room. It's disgusting, and it's terrible.
Just to interject, go to White Tunnel's website. They've got a new update for that boot. It's build 162. I put it on this morning.
Hey, Auntie, do they have a cracked version yet that you can get for free?
There's a cracked version out, but I don't know where you get it from, though.
Thank you. Dairy farmer?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tony, I didn't catch that.
I said thanks.
Oh, no probs, mate.
I don't know. This whole war thing is dreary. I don't know about you guys. I've only been sleeping about 3 hours a night. It's horrible. Johnny, that's true. Love is the answer. Peace. Peace, brother. Anyway, it's like this whole war thing. TV's never been more interesting, but I'm telling you, gets on your nerves after a while. You just sit there staring at it, and you need a release. I need a release.
Actually, it's funny, Mickey. I'm a bit like you. I've been getting stuff all sleep since this thing started. And funny enough, I was talking to a doctor the other day and about it, and he said to me that it's a known statistic that the suicide rate goes down whenever there's a war on, because it actually catches people's attention.
No, I've been miserable, and I was all for the war, but now I'm like a miserable piece of crap. I wanted the war to be over in 3.5 days. I had it all figured out. I was supposed to be working by now, and also the stock portfolio was supposed to go up from over $1,000 to over $1,100 so I could retire.
Whoever just tried to get into my computer, don't shut your computer down. You'll never get it back up. Big mistake.
Then I saw this horrible movie called Irreversible, which if anybody hasn't seen it, please don't see it. It's the most violent movie ever made in the face of the planet Earth. It was horrible. That really gave me nightmares. Way worse than the war. This movie is worse than the war. Irreversible. Go see it, but I didn't send you. Goodness gracious.
Tell me, is it worse than American Psycho?
Let me put it to you this way. There was a 10-minute rape scene that's very realistic and extraordinarily violent. 10 minutes of a film dedicated to that. And the only reason I stayed is because the critiques I'd read prior to the movie said stay for that so that you can understand the rest of the movie. The movie filmed in reverse vignettes. It was the most disturbing film I think I ever saw.
That's disgusting. I cannot comprehend why movie people would make something like that. Yeah, I just can't get that. That's gross.
It was a French movie, made by a French person for obviously very French audiences. There was a whole bunch of gay scenes in it and stuff, but pretty much the worst. Wasn't the worst movie. The movie was absolutely fascinating, but I lost sleep on it for several days. I'm telling you.
And to me, from what you're saying, that's a bit like Clockwork Orange. I understand the message behind Clockwork Orange, but that doesn't change the fact, in my opinion, that was an absolutely disgusting film.
Clockwork Orange, Auntie, was a much more sophisticated movie than this one, even though it was made perhaps, 25 years earlier. Clockwork Orange exploited violence. This movie focused on violence and distorted time in such a way. I think that the director, I forget his name, he was an idiot, but he went out of his way to exploit anything that's exploitable in movies, including sequence, timing, and some little bit of, fainted philosophy, and a terrible, terrible abuse of violence and sex. Actually, not sex, violence and rape in such a manner that I honestly had trouble sleeping.
Well, thanks for the warning, Mickey. I'll bypass that one.
It's amazing how much a movie can affect you. I mean, I've seen live film of people being assassinated. Live film, not live, but true film. People being assassinated, people being killed. I've seen dead bodies on the streets. I've seen film footage of a person being sucked up through a jet engine on an aircraft carrier. I've seen a lot of really disgusting things, but in fact I've seen torture films which were published. But this was way worse. and it was fiction. So go figure. So I'm sorry I managed to take the subject from a horrible subject to a worse subject. So let's talk about something nice. Did you guys know you can buy popsicles that are calorie-free? You can buy calorie-free Tutti Frutti popsicles that have aspartame in them. And you can just suck on popsicles all day long. Now, there's 15 calories each. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's petroleum, or maybe it's the wood that's in the popsicle. But yeah, you can just suck on popsicles. You can, have a purple tongue, a green tongue, a yellow tongue. I'm on this new diet. It's called counting calories.
Ya me gritaron 1000 veces que me regrese a mi tierra, porque aquí no quepo yo. Quiero recordarle al gringo, yo no crucé la frontera, me cruzó. América nació libre, el hombre la dividió.
And she's fat-free, sugar-free, and all that. It's very good for you. You got to talk about Pac and licking her, and oh God,
Ray, I only caught the end of that, but this must have been pretty scary. I'm blushing.
It involved licking you, Pac.
I don't gather that much, Jack. What did I miss out on, Ray?
You got to make allowances for Ray. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what's on his mind, but he has a nosebleed once a month.
Are you calorie-free?
Rice.
If she's calorie-free, I'll consider. Otherwise, forget it. I'm on a diet. Hey, put back on that, that Ranchera music or whatever the hell that crap is. Sounded pretty good.
Sounded like shit to me.
Papa, you have no respect for the Latin culture.
Okay, you got me there.
You gotta spend a little bit of time down there south of the border. I recommend your first stop close to San Diego, Tijuana.
Doing good there, Pac baby. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. As soon as my blushing subsides, I'll be fine.
Pac, all I talked about was popsicles. I'm really sorry about that whole, licking thing. I don't know. I have no idea what that was all about.
I'm not really sure what Ray was saying either, because that Ray, get the bad guy was playing music. So when I iggied him, then I heard Ray, and I thought, oh my God, what is he talking about?
I was getting off on that Mexican music. Reminded me of my days down, south of the border.
I can't concentrate now because that Pacific Angel's voice is stirring my loins.
You got more than one loin? How many loins you got?
All I can say, Hog, is I've got, when it comes to Pac, it seems to multiply.
Man, I don't know about you. I've only...
Loins.
Hi, Johnny, it's amazing. I've only got one loin, according to recent countage. But to have multiple loins, that's really ridiculous.
Hey, Pac, how does it feel to have that effect upon a person?
Well, you know, it's not me that has that effect. It's the voice, apparently. I don't have that effect on anyone.
I wonder if Ray's multitasking can also go for his computer.
Well, at the moment he's laughing so hard he can't do anything.
Last I checked, I only had one loin. You gotta go see a doctor. If you got more than one loin, there's something wrong with you, alright?
Oh, you're just jealous that you haven't got more than one loin.
Maybe he's talking about his natural loin and his strap-on loin that goes elsewhere.
Oh no, multi-simultaneous orgasms. Starting to sound pretty good.
Okay, let's talk about war again now, please.
Woohoo! Hi, Packy. Hi, Shazam. Hi, Bad Boy, Bandit, Bush, Cajun. Hey, Hippie. Hal, Jack, Kit, Liberty, Mickey. Pack Baby again. Paris, Pawpaw. Wicked, Truck. Tier, Charlie, St. Joe. Ray, Ragtime. Oh, Stu, hi. I did, didn't I? Didn't I say hi to Bandit?
You probably did. I just wasn't paying attention. Sorry. I'm glad you're here. You can help me out now. Ray's been causing all sorts of trouble. Can you slap him upside the head for me? You do that so well.
He needs a doink, does he?
A doink or a boink?
Apparently he's got multiple doinks.
Pacific is always innocent.
Yeah, they don't call me seductress for nothing.
That's right.
Actually, I would like to say, everyone, that loins is the correct terminology for the context that I used it in.
Why, you and your twin brother?
You mean
Well, I could quote something. I will come out with a little quotation from the Bible, and it's something big. By his loin, say, now, the ball is wrong. I'll do that.
You guys over there got some weird what the hell else? To against English was wishful thinking wishingly to loins.
Well, Hog, if you think I sound like an Australian or England and get the way, because I come from the best city that London is.
Gives me any of the blunt, but down near the south where he lives, a steak and ounce, pal.
Now, we're not getting too serious here, are we, boys? I don't need to make you go back to your corners.
But you've forgotten one. You've forgotten one vital thing, Mickey. And one thing you must always remember about Johnny. He's a slapper.
Oh yeah, he is a slapper. I mean, Johnny told me himself he was embarrassed, but he was a slapper. But other than that, I mean, he's got credibility. He talks with that big deep voice. Looks like, you know, he's a very attractive man for being over 340 pounds.
Hey guys, just interrupt for a sec. in case people don't know, they're reporting on Fox at the moment. A missile has been shot off from southern Iraq, landed in Kuwait City. It has devastated a shopping mall and a cinema. And they're saying the description that they're giving right now is saying that the missile has shredded this place.
Well, that's what they wanted all along, isn't it? I mean, they've been sending one a day. One was bound to get through. Maybe the guy at the Patriots fell asleep or something. This is war. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get nasty. A lot of innocent people are going to die. We got to contain it, get it over with, and just, move on to our next project.
I think it's roughly around 2 a.m. there, Pac. So they're saying there's a number of people injured, but they're saying if it landed 1 hour earlier, there would be a lot of fatalities. Oh, Mick, if some of your malls are anything like ours, they've got clubs and whatnot that are in them that are open till bloody 5 in the morning.
People that drink at that time of the morning should be willing to undergo the risk. Believe me. Anyway, our malls are shut down way early. We've got all these Haitian police running around. You can't go into our malls even just dressed like a gangster or you're arrested immediately.
Jack, that's what we got on the Associated Press. I'm sorry, on the Associated.
Sorry, mate. I picked that up. Thanks. There's obviously, they don't have the details correct yet because Fox is saying there are people injured, but none dead.
Maybe there was a mall in the ocean and the missile just, inadvertently hit it.
As for little damage, I'm watching the footage at the moment. There is a lot of damage.
A lot of that's media hype, You can't believe everything you read.
Well, I'm not reading, I'm seeing with my own eyes. And Pawpaw, it landed in the bay near where Kuwait City is. And its aftershock is whatever the shit that comes from the explosion, that's what caused all the damage.
Are you saying there was a tidal wave caused by the missile?
No, I'm saying the missile exploded in the water, but it was next to the shoreline. G'day, Sue. And where the water was is not far from where the shopping centre was. So therefore it's done a lot of damage.
Yeah, I don't mean to make light of it. Actually, it's a horrible thing. Like I said, it's been keeping me up. It's been horrible. I can't stand it anymore. Finally, there's something on the news and on the radio that's worse than Dr. Laura.
That's too funny, Mickey. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you just fine. You've got a really sexy voice.
Actually, I think it can't be sexy, Mickey, because it's got a slight nasal twang, which cuts the edge off it.
Yeah, Bray, you're not from over here just like I'm all fucked up with British, Australian, and New Zealand accents. Pretty good with American accents. She's got kind of like a southern twang to it, which if anybody's ever met southern women, they would have a deep respect for their accents.
Well, I've been over to Georgia.
And that means what?
Well, I've been to Texas, and I've also watching that girl.
Yeah, but she digs me, you guys. She doesn't dig you guys. She digs me.
Yes, all right. Well, it's you to be jealous, Mr. Hogg, but she's still got a slight nasal twang, and Georgia Peach accent is
Anybody ping it?
That is so condescending. If I was a woman of any gender, I would resent that comment.
I just take it for who it's coming from. Somebody that you can barely enunciate the words.
a woman of any gender.
How is it I still end up with... I blew my cover, you guys. Get out of town. Hey, is there a boot where you can send somebody a boot so that when they try to change... Sorry, Dare. Is there a boot so that when you send somebody a boot and they try to change the colors on their color effects, it still stays the same? An eerie thing has happened over here. I think it's like X-Files.
Go in your preferences.
Oh, I'm way beyond that.
Q, I think he's found his preference. Know what I'm saying?
Johnny, you're just full of it today, aren't you?
Southern girls not from Atlanta. That's the bigot.
All Texas, baby.
Oh, I'm stolen.
What's the subject?
Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, in comes Tiger Lily.
Dun 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 dun.
What's so worse about me?
Can I get back to you?
She opened herself wide up for that.
That bad. I don't see how you can get all that from one sentence.
Tiger, just tell Johnny to get back on his fiber diet.
He can identify the color of your underwear just from one sentence. Get right out of town.
Alright. And what is it?
You're not wearing any. Huh, amazing.